So this is my reflection on what I chose was classical conditioning and interpersonal conditioning. And from this, I've learned a lot when it comes to classical conditioning is, where, as the process involves a neutral stimulus to a productive and natural response. Like in Pavlov, every time the little boy or the dog would hear the bell, it would begin to salivate, but then it had a stimulus in it. And the same thing applies as when you start thinking about how it works in classrooms. A teacher pairs a neutral stimulus with like a specific sound or a bell or something to get the students' attention. And then with a positive unconditioned stimulus, like a praise or a reward, but, it can create a conditional response in the students. So as they hear the sound, they'll automatically start to think that they're going to get a praise or a small prize. And then as I kept going, I learned a whole lot when it comes to the interpersonal connection is the learning style where people learn best by interacting with others. And that is the big truth in today's society, whereas a lot of the generation of students now are more of the classical conditioning. The teacher might make a noise, clap, or do something, and then that will trigger them to give a response. Whereas in the days where you interacted, you learn your learning style from your parents, your community, your teachers, police officers, those around you. It's a very big difference because me and my wife have sent my son to private school, and it was a total different learning environment for him at private school compared to public school. There's a different expectation. But my son was more of an interpersonal conditioning when he interacted and learned from others who are motivated that they really want to be there compared to those who do only so much, but they want the stimulus. They want that conditional response. If they shut down if they don't like it. With their characteristics like for interpersonals, a good communicator, natural leader, enjoy group work. That's something where I believe myself as an interpersonal conditioner. I try to mimic whenever a student does well from my attitude, how I perceive things, how I see things. And, I believe that I exhibit more of the interpersonal than the classical conditioning, but you still do the classical conditioning, but you don't use an object or a sound or a bell or to get their stimulus response. I believe in how I present myself is also how people perceive to take me, and that goes well like a hand in glove with when dealing with students, especially trying to either get trying to get them conditioning for school. Classical conditioning is more early childhood, early elementary, and then you get a more of a transition when they start to come about themselves and gain who they are when they get to middle school. That is where they should be. I believe that they should be more transitioning to the interpersonal conditioning, the positive ones in your community, the positive people in your family, and then that will be able to help them grow so that they will have interpersonal skills when they go out in the real world, and so that they're not you know, they won't be doing a project and they will only do the project unless they're constantly given motivation. But someone who is positive from the beginning don't need the intermission, like, you're doing good, you're doing good. They enjoy doing that group work. And then, you know, with both classical and interpersonal, they have their ups and downs. You know, with classical, it could be where, you know, the stimulus with the response forming a basis for many learned behaviors, hearing that bell. And then it could actually, you know, hurt them, because once you start to get into the real world, and you know, you hear that same sound is misused to manipulate and control an individual. Potential misuses of it. You know, they think that they automatically hear that, or they're going to get their praise, and it's, you know, where everything has an up, everything has a down. So, like, for interpersonal, it helped develop, like, strong relationships, fulfilling relationships built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. But when you have that, you gotta think about some of the possible negative. You know, traditional doesn't account for the individual difference in learning styles, personality, or cognitive behavior, which can significantly impact how individuals learn and behave. So, where you have an up, you will have a down. You know, where I'm interpersonal and outgoing, but the way I work might not be given a classical response back to someone who, that's all they're looking for, to have a better day. This right here showed me a lot, because not one thing in today's society is going to be the mold for anybody, but rather you have to pick and choose off the tray to get those ripe apples to make that great apple pie. And that's what the same thing with this lesson has taught me, is I don't have to be completely full classical or full interpersonal. I could be classical and interpersonal, and just take the strengths of the two and merge them. So it was a great lesson. I had fun, and I look forward to doing many more.